Eternal Night King. The mercenaries' expressions were solemn. They had encountered many strange things while risking their lives for money. Among them, there were quite a few who had dealt with the blood race. They naturally understood that the term eternal night represented the blood race. Similarly, they were not averse to the price of eternal life being becoming a vampire when dealing with the weak. They were no more benevolent than the blood race. Mr. Eve, may I? The bearded mercenary looked at the notebook on the table, asking if he could look at the contents inside. Old Eve nodded slightly. He had brought it out precisely to make everyone believe his words. The bearded man picked up the notebook and gently untied the thin hemp rope on it. The notebook was too old. Applying too much force, he was afraid it would fall apart in his hands. As the notebook opened, the contents inside were revealed. This was the notebook of a commander. The first few pages recounted some of his daily life. At what age he fell in love with which girl. And on the day he confessed, he saw the girl playing games with a noble lord. Their bottoms bared at what age a traveler came to the city, and he followed him to learn swordsmanship. Another year, a beautiful girl came to the city. She was so beautiful, captivating everyone. Compared to her, the girl who had wiggled her backside in front of the noble lord was simply like a village girl in heat. All the men in the city became love rivals overnight. In the latter half, the notebook's owner reached the age of 40. He became the city's commander and had hopes of advancing to become a hero. He planned to work until spring, then resign and go to a city with a merit trial ground to attempt the advancement. The last year, I led my soldiers to guard the city, and the city was preparing to celebrate the new year. The old city lord ordered wine to be sent to every household, including theirs. The notebook left several pages blank here. After turning 3 pages, new content finally appeared. That damned old bastard. He lied to everyone. My soldiers started shedding their skin, revealing the flesh and blood beneath it. He turned all of us into damned monsters. In the final interlayer, there was a hand-drawn map. This commander asked his friend to find him according to the map and rescue him. What does this explain? The bearded man passed the notebook to the next person, asking himself that a notebook whose content didn't even mention a method for eternal life. What could it possibly say? Old Eve continued. The commander's friend was just a merchant who returned to this city with a carriage under the guise of trade. The old city lord, who was once old and should have died long ago, became increasingly younger, like a gentleman in his 30s or 40s, and his commander friend had truly vanished. During the few days he stayed in the city, members of his team began to disappear one after another. He took all his goods and left the city on the empty streets at noon. Later, the merchant kept following this matter, collecting a lot of information, among which were the king and the key. The mercenaries looked at Old Eve. Mr. Eve, are you the merchant in the story? Old Eve was a merchant, the kind with a lot of money, which led people to speculate that the story was about him. No, Old Eve continued. This is my great-grandfather's story. You just believe this story like that. The bearded man said if it were before today, whether the story was true or false, as long as Old Eve was willing to pay, they would be willing to play along with him. But now that it involved fighting the undead later on, and the secret of eternal life, they had to ask for clarification. The key, the ancient tomb, they have all been verified, haven't they? Old Eve counter-questioned. The mercenaries looked at each other. Mr. Eve, shall we go take a look at the ancient tomb tomorrow? The bearded man asked softly, his attitude returning to respect. We'll go take a look tomorrow. Old Eve got up and returned to his bedroom. Don't reveal this, otherwise there will be bigger trouble. All right then, we won't disturb your rest. After speaking, everyone left the room, closing the door behind them. On the way back with the skeleton army, Fang Hao lifted the divine arrival state, sitting on the bed. He first contacted Zhang Bin. Zhang Bin, are you there? Boss, your command. Zhang Bin's reply was still quick. I'll have Blood Hunter send you an animal called Iron Claw Rat. It can help farmers loosen the soil. When you get them, distribute them to the villagers and have them raise them separately. Oh, okay, roughly how many? 505. Distribute them to the villagers as soon as you get them. Keep an eye on them. These little guys like to dig holes. Oh, all right. Zhang Bin looked confused but still agreed. After hanging up their chat, Fang Hao pushed open the door and went downstairs. He hadn't eaten all day, and his stomach was truly a bit hungry. Master, Please wait a moment. Dinner will be ready soon. Ear showed a sweet smile. Okay, Fang Hao replied and walked straight out of the Lord's mansion. Just as he stepped out the main door, he saw Nielsen silently sitting on the bench. Waiting, beside him stood an orc skeleton. Scholar Nielsen, you've come out of seclusion. Fang Hao immediately stepped forward. After bowing, Nielsen introduced, Lord, this is Blackthorn. The skeleton hero behind him took a step forward and knelt on one knee. Blackthorn greets the Lord. Fang Hao understood in his heart. It turned out the commander of the 300,000 orc army had the nickname Blackthorn. Blackthorn. Amiri. Now he could only be called Blackthorn. Blackthorn. Tier 5 hero. Faction. Undead template. Blue racial traits. Undead. Hollow skeleton. Light weakness. Legion talents. City-state defense. Infantry commander. Ranged commander. Skills. Encampment. Thorn. Torture. Talk to dead. Innate abilities. Advanced defense mastery. Intermediate tactics mastery. Intermediate command mastery. Intermediate one-handed weapon mastery. City-state defense. Combat units under command gain 5% morale and 1% defense during defensive battles. Encampment. Passive. Efficiency of setting up camps and building fortifications for commanded troops is increased by 20%. Torture. Passive. This unit is skilled in punishment. The morale of those being tortured is reduced to 0. Thorn. Active. Deals 50% skill damage to the target. Talk to dead. Active. Grants a corpse the illusion of life. Bestowing temporary life, allowing it to answer questions. Prerequisite. The corpse must have a mouth and cannot be an undead creature. Description. A product of an immortal corpse lich, not recognized by the god of undead. This hero cannot level up or advance. Blackthorn's attributes were a bit strange. He didn't seem like a leading hero. More like an executioner suitable for severe torture. It was also fortunate that he had won this battle. Otherwise, if he had fallen into his hands, would he have had a good time? He would surely have been tortured to death. All right, you can get up first. When the troops return, I'll arrange work for you. Fang Hao said. Yes, sir. Blackthorn stood up and respectfully stood to the side. After chatting with Nelson for a while, the large returning force entered the territory. This time there were no bodies to convert, but they did acquire quite a few gold and silver vessels. They were sent to the warehouse cart by cart.as for the weapons dropped by the ghouls. They could be repaired by the blacksmiths and sold for a good price. The most important gains were the blueprints and rare materials. Blueprint scrolls, Valiant Strike Skill Scroll. Fortress Construction Blueprint White Steel Two-handed Sword Manufacturing Blueprint. Bronze Corpse Raising Coffin Manufacturing Blueprint. Noble Cane Sword Manufacturing Blueprint. Rare Materials. Traces of Death 244. Bloodstone 27. Shadowstone 160. Wriggling Spine 1. Only the 3 Twilight Revelers dropped a wriggling spine. The rest belonged to ghouls and wouldn't drop it. Taking the backpack and Jia handed over, Fang Hao collected all the blueprints. Oh, right, Scholar Nelson. I obtained a heart in the ancient tomb. Should I keep it, or would making it into an organ jar yield more? Fang Hao suddenly remembered the dark gold-grade hero's heart that if sealing it in an organ jar could grant powerful skills. Then sealing it wasn't out of the question. The heart was still in a clay pot, carried back by a skeleton all the way. Let me see, replied Nelson. The skeleton held the clay pot, and Fang Hao and Nelson looked inside through the opening. The heart was still beating, and very strongly. Where did my lord obtain this? Nelson asked. Fang Hao recounted the entire story to Nelson, even detailing how he got the information in the human city. Nelson nodded slightly after listening, pondering for a moment. My lord, you wish to make it into an organ jar. Can I see what effects it would have first? Fang Hao asked. The heart also had a special quest. Fang Hao wanted to see what attributes it would have if placed in an organ jar. If the attributes were good, he wouldn't do the quest. If they were average, he would keep the heart for the quest. Everything depended on which option yielded the greatest benefit. My lord, I do not recommend making it into an organ jar. This could bring disaster to the territory. Nelson said softly. He spoke calmly. But Fang Hao could hear the seriousness of the issue that a heart brought back would bring disaster to the territory. Were his hundreds of thousands of undead troops vegetarians? What do you mean, scholar? Just say it. Fang Hao frowned. Ordinary blood race do not possess such powerful vitality. This heart holds the purest power of the blood race, likely belonging to someone closest to the blood race progenitor. Sealing it is like creating a time bomb. Once discovered, you will face retaliation from the blood race, Nelson said sternly. The blood race have a strict hierarchical system. Not everyone with fangs and bat wings is recognized by the blood race. They have their own clans and heritage, but no matter the clan, they all share a common blood race progenitor. And this heart, being linked to the blood race progenitor, also proved the seriousness of the matter. Even if Fang Hao could provoke any local force, he couldn't provoke a force like this. Besides, he had a second option. Completing the heart's quest. Point 1 was to befriend. The other was to be hostile. After Nelson's explanation, Fang Hao felt it was better to cast aside racial barriers and help each other. Okay, then keep this heart with you for now. We'll see if there's a way to help it revive later. Fang Hao chose to do the heart's quest. All right, my lord. Nelson put away the clay pot with the heart. After all, a beating heart placed in the lord's mansion was quite unsettling. Giving it to Nelson for safekeeping could avoid a lot of trouble. After everything was handled, the error also came to announce that it was time for dinner. After dinner, Fang Hao once again upgraded the underground cemetery, burial ground, corridor of the dead, and necromancer tower all to level 6, catching up with the level of the lord's mansion. After everything was done, Fang Hao returned to his room and fell into a deep sleep. The next morning, Fang Hao turned over and sat up. Walking out of his room, the ear was still up early. Master, Mr. Duojin came looking for you this morning. Oh, okay. Duojin was the skeleton merchant. He was likely looking for him because of a new order. Walking out of the lord's mansion, he went directly to the Merchant Alliance building. Duojin was standing at the counter, assigning tasks to the other skeleton merchants. My lord. Yes, are there new orders? Fang Hao asked. Yes, my lord. We received 2 orders from the dwarves today. 2. Both from the dwarves. Yes, my lord. Last time, Fang Hao received 50,000 units of gunpowder. This time, 2 more orders came. One was still for black powder, and the second was for white steel handguns. Order requirement. Black powder, 5,000 units trade reward. Warfire coin 500. White steel plate manufacturing blueprint. Dwarf influence plus 10. Order requirement. White steel handgun 2,000 pieces. Trade reward. Warfire coin 200000. Dwarf influence plus 10. What were the dwarves doing? They weren't really fighting, were they? The demand for equipment and gunpowder was so high. Anyway, it didn't concern him much. Duojin, we can't make these white steel handguns. We don't have the blueprint, Fang Hao said. He also wanted white steel handguns. These things were green quality but had tier 4 damage, incredibly powerful, but he didn't have the blueprint. My lord, you still have 1 order form that hasn't been filled out and is about to expire. If you don't need anything else, you can fill in white steel handgun. Maybe someone will sell the blueprint, Duojin reminded. Oh, right. Fang Hao patted his head. The Merchant Alliance sent out 2 order forms every 7 days. Last time, he filled in Undead unit building blueprint and hadn't received it yet. He still had 1 form that hadn't been used. If he didn't use it soon, it would expire. It would be overwritten. Oh, then write white steel handgun. There really wasn't anything else he needed to write. Even if he got it and didn't have enough materials, it would still expand his blueprint collection. Okay, my lord, Duojin said, writing white steel handgun manufacturing blueprint on the order form and putting it in the mailbox behind him. Next, Fang Hao accepted the black powder order and produced 5,000 units of black powder in the warehouse. The skeleton merchant took the goods and the order form and disappeared. Fang Hao also started to attend to his own matters. After breakfast, 2 bone dragons landed from the sky, and 12 tier 4 greatsword infantry disembarked from them. Their faces a little pale, their eyes occasionally glanced at the passing skeletons. My lord, the greatsword infantry recognized Fang Hao and immediately stepped forward to salute. Yes, have you eaten breakfast? Fang Hao asked. These people were transferred from Zhongbin's territory. Today, they were going to Pluer City to handle matters related to opening a store. They needed some people to escort the carriage. So he transferred these individuals. We have eaten, my lord. The greatsword infantry still replied respectfully. Okay, Then wait a moment. We'll set off once you're ready. The giant sword infantry carefully stood to the side. Fang Hao then opened the Lord's book and found the Merchant Caravan blueprint under the Production tab, but Merchant Caravan, wood 200, hemp ropes 70, leather 50, iron 10, metal parts 12. The Merchant Caravan blueprint was obtained by Zhang Bin the last time he cleared out the wild boars. Fang Hao had collected it. Production quantity, 1. Produced at hundredfold. Amplification triggered. Obtained 101 merchant caravans. One by one, merchant caravans appeared out of thin air, scattered around. The merchant caravans were larger and more stable than the flatbed carts. With a leather canopy above the cargo bed, they could carry more goods and also provide shade and shelter from rain. All right, move all the wine barrels, tableware, and utensils from the warehouse onto the caravans. We'll set off shortly. Yes, sir. All the giant sword infantry began to move, loading all the items that needed to be taken onto the caravans. After everything was ready, the large group set off again, heading towards Pearl City. 3 hours later, the caravan finally entered Pearl City, an unfamiliar caravan, along with pretty rabbit and fox maidens, attracted the attention of many people. People gathered on both sides of the road, standing there whispering and talking in low voices. Xiaobai, did you remember this road? From now on, you'll be responsible for the shops here, Fang Hao said from the carriage to Xiaobai, the fox maiden holding her large tail, who was standing beside him. Xiaobai was a maid with commercial talent. Besides Xiaobai, there were also 10 rabbit maids. They were specially responsible for this shop. As for the accompanying 4th-tier giant sword infantry, they were there to protect the safety of the place. After all, it was a legitimate business that if there were drunkards harassing the maids or people causing trouble, some people were needed to keep order. The city defense commander of Pearl City was only 5th tier, so arranging 4th tier as security should be sufficient. I remember. Master, don't worry, I definitely won't disappoint you, Xiaobai said, clenching her fist and promising. And I believe you. The caravan stopped next to the shop. Fang Hao took the money box to the Lord's mansion to complete the procedures. After paying the money, he received the deed. From now on, this shop belonged to Fang Hao. The shop door was opened, revealing the dust-covered floor and furniture inside. After giving instructions, everyone began to clean. Fang Hao stood outside the door. There was no place for him to intervene. He himself didn't have much strength, so it was best not to cause trouble. At this moment, the owner of the tavern across the road walked over. You really bought this shop? The owner walked closer. And from now on, we'll be neighbors. Please take care of me, Fang Hao said with a smile. The owner sized up the young man in front of her again, that he truly was wealthy and extravagant. This shop would cost at least tens of thousands of gold coins. And he just bought it like that. He even brought a large group of people to clean. What do you plan to do? Food and beverages, just serving meals, Fang Hao said. Just serving meals, the owner asked. I'll also sell some drinks. But the main focus is still on serving meals. The owner listened, shook her head slightly, and said softly, you won't make money doing it this way. You can open an inn. Guests will eat at your place. How many people will come if you only serve meals? This was indeed the owner's experience from years of running a tavern. She ran a tavern and would sell some dishes to go with drinks. But a business focused solely on serving meals was difficult to start here, unless what you made was so delicious that people would feel uncomfortable if they didn't eat it for 2 days. Just like drunkards couldn't live without alcohol. Otherwise, it would be difficult to have a market. It's all right. I'll try it first. If it doesn't work, I'll sell daily necessities, Fang Hao said indifferently. The owner glared at him helplessly. Rich people were really annoying. Let's go. Come sit at my place for a while. You're not going to stand here all the time, are you? The owner turned and walked towards the tavern, her slender waist and full hips swayed slightly as she walked away. It made people unconsciously look at her a few more times. Fang Hao couldn't keep standing there either, so he followed the owner into the tavern. Sitting down at the counter, he suddenly noticed that the bounty above had changed. The bounty for finding the ancient tomb had been changed to finding the undead gathering place to the north, and the bounty amount had also increased to 5,000 gold coins. Seeing this bounty, Fang Hao's eyes narrowed. 3 hours north of Pearl City, in the correct direction. He could find his territory. This is crazy. It is crazy. Those mercenaries have a problem with their brains. They actually said there was a group of undead to the north, the owner said, standing behind the counter and muttering along. You don't believe it, but you still posted it for them? Fang Hao asked. Oh dear, they paid. I can't not make money, can I? The owner poured a glass of beer and pushed it over. Who are these mercenaries? What does it have to do with them whether there are undead to the north? Fang Hao asked curiously. Who knows? Before they said there was an ancient tomb, and this morning they changed it to undead. The owner complained if they hadn't paid a good amount. She really wouldn't have posted it for them. The credibility was low, and it also caused the tavern's reputation to decline. Do they live here? A few rooms on the second floor have been booked by them. They are also quite wealthy after they arrived. They ate and drank well, the old man they were. Protecting looked like a rich person at a glance. The owner's eyesight was quite good. She could figure out most things and people. I also want to post a bounty. How do you charge? Fang Hao asked. All right, it's 1 gold coin for 5 days. With a minimum of 5 days, the tavern takes a 10% commission after the bounty is completed. Of course, this is given after the bounty is fulfilled, the owner said while wiping the table. Then write down. Looking for information on the Sword of Remission, 100 gold for each piece of information. Fang Hao counted out 5 gold coins from his pocket. Let's start with 25 days. Okay, write it yourself. You help me write it. My handwriting isn't good, Fang Hao said. The owner put down the linen cloth in her hand, stood in front of the notice board, and wrote down the bounty Fang Hao posted. Bang. The tavern door was heavily pushed open. 6 well-equipped mercenaries, surrounding an old man, walked into the tavern. The few of them were silent, only saying as they reached the owner, prepare lunch for 7 people and send it to our rooms. Okay, I'll send it to you when it's ready. After saying that, the few of them went straight upstairs. Mercenaries. After the few of them left, Fang Hao asked in a low voice. The owner nodded and started having the back kitchen prepare lunch for them as soon as they entered. Fang Hao had already seen the information about these mercenaries. All 6 of them were at the 6th or 7th tier, which was considered a relatively high rank in the human faction. Looking at the stairs the few of them went up, Fang Hao's expression turned gloomy. It seemed these few people couldn't be left alive. They must have already discovered the matter of his territory skeletons, and letting them mess around would cause him a lot of trouble. After greeting the owner, he walked out of the tavern. In the afternoon, the sun was shining brightly. The shop was handed over to Xiaobai, and Fang Hao returned to the territory with Anya as soon as he dismounted. Duo-jin walked over. He said, Sir, these are the blueprints obtained this morning. The Warfire coins have been handed over to Miss Ear. Duo-jin handed over 2 blueprints. They were the white steel plate production blueprint, which was an order reward, and the white steel musket blueprint, which he obtained by placing an order himself. Blueprints for production like these are still easy to obtain. Orders placed in the morning were sold to him in the afternoon, but on the contrary, for the very first order he placed, no one has given him an undead building blueprint. Yet, Fang Hao took them and recorded them in the Lord's book. White steel plate. White steel. Ingot 2. It requires white steel ingots. According to the production model of cast iron blocks, white steel ingots should also not be produced from blueprints, but rather produced using a furnace. White steel musket. White steel plate 1. White steel ingot 2. Metal parts 3. Description: a common weapon for musket teams. Simple production process, can be mass-produced and equipped. The white steel musket has green quality but possesses tier 4 damage. This kind of leapfrog damage, if equipped on skeleton archers, would double their strength. If a skeleton musket team is formed, then it would not only be powerful but also very cool. Moreover, the material requirements are not high. The only thing missing now is white steel ingots. Duo-jin, does the Merchant Alliance shop have building blueprints for producing white steel ingots? Fang Hao looked at Duo-jin. This kind of general building, used by all races, shouldn't be difficult to purchase, right? Not yet. I will keep an eye out. If there is such a building blueprint, I will buy it directly, Duo-jin said. Okay. Fang Hao had no other way. He could only hope that this blueprint would appear when the Merchant Alliance restocked next time. Or, if there is a way to buy white steel ingots in nearby human cities. Buying the finished product is also an option. Duo-jin turned and left. And Fang Hao also returned to the Lord's mansion, returning to the bedroom. He placed the spark staff on the weapon rack, only to find that the sound transmission conch had already stored a message. Fang Hao had two conches in his hand. Point one was given by the slave merchant, for the convenience of notifying him when to buy slaves. The other sound transmission conch was left by Fang Hao with Bronze Bull, so that he could be informed if there was any news about the Skullcrusher tribe. And the conch that had just received a message was the one from Bronze Bull. Holding the conch to his ear, Bronze Bull's low voice immediately came through. "My lord, we have captured 2 Skullcrusher scouts. We searched their bodies and found a map of our arrangements, which is being sent to the city where Mr. Fireblade is stationed. The sound transmission conch has limited storage, so the message was very brief. It just said that 2 scouts sent by the Skullcrusher tribe were captured, and no further information was mentioned." Fang Hao had no choice but to put his removed armor back on and walk out of the Lord's mansion again. Calling Anya and Blackthorn, he directly boarded the Bone Dragon and rushed towards the city where Fireblade was stationed. It was about a 30-minute journey. The Bone Dragon had already arrived above the city. This former human territory had been converted into a temporary fortress outside the city. Dense undead patrolled day and night, and the road leading to the main city was even equipped with multiple checkpoints. Unless one took a large detour, it would be difficult to bypass the checkpoints and directly attack the main city where Fang Hao resided. The Bone Dragon landed, and Fireblade and Bronze Bull stepped forward to salute. "My lord." The city was filled with a large number of undead skeletons waiting on standby, standing there in an orderly manner like terracotta warriors, and on one side, a few Minotaur warriors were huddled in a corner, guarding something. Fang Hao dismounted from the Bone Dragon's back and asked directly, "Where are the scouts?" "They are here. Please follow me, my lord." Bronze Bull led the way towards the place guarded by the Minotaurs. In the corner, 2 bloody corpses lay on the ground, exposed to the sun. "My lord, it's these 2. Bronze Bull pointed at the corpses. "Dead?" "Yes." The guards found them drawing a map. "A fight broke out during the arrest, and they were killed," Bronze Bull explained. He also wanted to capture them alive, but the other party had already entered a state of blood rage, and they were in the Manhwa market. For safety, they could only be killed. In this way, they could only try their best to search for some intelligence. "Where is the map you mentioned?" Fang Hao continued to ask. "Here it is." Bronze Bull brought a map that simply marked the Manhwa market, the information about the city where Fireblade was stationed, and some checkpoints set up around it. Although the drawing was crude, the locations of each checkpoint were marked quite clearly. It could be seen that these 2 had been investigating here for some time. Bronze Bull also felt a bit uneasy. Fang Hao had asked him to arrange people to inquire about the Skullcrusher tribe. Now, not only had he not gotten any news about the enemy, but he had also captured scouts lurking in Manhwa, and they had even drawn a detailed map. These were captured, but who could guarantee there weren't others? He was afraid that Fang Hao would blame him, which would affect the interests of the Minotaur tribe. During this time, the Minotaur tribe had received considerable support from Fang Hao. Various weapons and tools, city construction, and roads had all been paved with stone slabs, even on rainy days. They no longer feared muddy roads. It can be said that the Manhwa market was much better than before, and this improvement was sustainable as long as Fang Hao was willing to continue supporting it. "My lord, I am responsible for this." Bronze Bull began to speak. "We'll talk about your matter later." Fang Hao put away the map and called out softly, "Blackthorn." Blackthorn, who had been following behind Fang Hao, stepped forward. "My lord." Blackthorn was a newly joined skeleton hero. He wore a set of metal plate armor, and a black iron knight's sword was at his waist. Neither Bronze Bull nor Fireblade had seen him before, and they both took a careful look. "Interrogate them. Ask about the Skullcrusher's plans, and how many centaur troops they have," Fang Hao continued. "Yes, my lord." After Blackthorn finished speaking, he began to draw strange runes around one of the corpses. The Minotaurs all showed confused expressions. The interrogation Fang Hao mentioned. Was it to interrogate the corpses on the ground? How can you interrogate the dead? Soon, Blackthorn completed his rune drawing and said, "My lord, I am ready. I need the blood of 2 magic beasts." Fang Hao nodded. "Bronze Bull, arrange it." Yes, my lord. Bronze Bull agreed and instructed his subordinates. Soon, two one-horned sheep were led over in front of the ruins. A sword blade slit the throat of a one-horned sheep. Blood flowed along the ruins, merging into the first corpse. Whoosh. The dead body instantly sat up, sitting there with a somewhat bewildered look in its eyes. Clatter. The surrounding minotaurs instantly retreated several steps, looking at the suddenly sitting up corpse with some fear. Where's this? Who are you? The revived orc asked blankly. You are dead. Now you need to answer my questions. Okay. The orc replied stiffly. How many scouts did Skullcrusher arrange? I don't know. The only ones I know are the two of us. What other plans does Skullcrusher have targeting the undead? Blackthorn looked directly into the other party's eyes and asked quickly. The great chieftain has contacted the troll tribe and plans to jointly with the troll tribe. Bang. The next second, the corpse instantly exploded, sending blood and flesh splattering everywhere. Fang Hao's expression was serious as he said, Bring two more one-horned sheep over. Not much information was obtained from the first corpse, but some key information was learned. Skullcrusher was still plotting, having contacted a troll tribe, planning to join forces to continue attacking Fang Hao's territory. This made Fang Hao, who had been planning to live a peaceful life for a couple of days, feel his heart tighten again. Since they dared to join forces, it proved they had stronger forces than the 300,000-strong army from last time. To deal with Fang Hao's undead army, this time, a unicorn sheep and a wild boar beaten to near death were brought in. The two were thrown in front of the second corpse, and bleeding began. Phew. The second corpse sat up again, its eyes vacant. You are dead. Now answer my question. Which troll tribe did the Skullcrusher tribe contact? Blackthorn asked directly. The corpse replied, It's the Bloodthroat tribe on the other side of the mountain range. What powerhouses are in the Bloodthroat tribe? I don't know, but I heard the chieftain of the Bloodthroat tribe is an orange hero. The blood in the runes began to rise like steam, and the resurrected orc's body also began to swell like a balloon. Besides the orange chieftain, what other heroes does the Bloodthroat tribe have? I don't know. How many troops will Skullcrusher dispatch? Blackthorn's questioning speed became faster and faster. I don't know. How many troops does the Bloodthroat tribe have? I don't know. The orc's body was already like a balloon, and its facial features began to deform. Blackthorn still asked, Tell me, the full name of the Bloodthroat chieftain. Meat Fist Caius. Bang. With a muffled sound, the orc's body completely exploded, and bits of flesh fell like raindrops from the sky. Sir, I've asked everything. Blackthorn bowed again. All right, let's go inside and talk. Inside the hall, Fang Hao sat in the main seat, with several heroes below him, except for Bloodhound and Nelson who were absent. The rest were present. These two scouts didn't know much information, and some things were heard from within. Skullcrusher's ranks. The authenticity needs to be verified, but the matter of the Skullcrusher tribe uniting with the Troll tribe is 99% likely to be true, because with Skullcrusher's current strength, it's impossible to contend with Fang Hao. The only way to continue fighting is to seek foreign aid, and the Troll tribe on the other side of the mountain range is as foreign aid.it. Seems the territory has entered a state of tense preparation for war again. Tyrok, have the scouts you sent out sent back any news? Fang Hao looked at the bronze bull. Their scouts have already arrived, so his own scouts shouldn't have returned without any news. Sir, they sent back the locations of some scattered tribes in the Coldwind Mountain Range, as well as maps, but not much news about the Skullcrusher tribe. Bronze Bull stood up and replied, The Skullcrusher tribe has integrated the large and small tribes of the Coldwind Mountain Range. The small ones have a few hundred people, and the large ones have a few thousand. Unlike Fang Hao, who is basically unified near the main cities. Moreover, the roads in the mountains are rugged, the environment is harsh, and drawing maps is also very difficult. Then do you know about this Bloodthroat tribe of the trolls? Fang Hao continued to ask. I've heard of them. They are a tribe that is not easy to provoke. Tell me what you know. I've only heard some things. It seems that the Bloodthroat tribe was very powerful back then and once conquered this continent. Later, they were besieged by the dragon race and elves and were basically wiped out. But some also hid in the mountain range. Bronze Bull said he didn't know much, after all. It wasn't something from his era. What he heard was all passed down by the older generation, let alone intelligence. Even the truth of the stories could not be verified. So, it's very possible that their chieftain is an orange hero. Fang Hao rubbed his chin. Very possible. Which mountain range did the corpse just say the Bloodthroat tribe was in? Fang Hao continued to ask. Bronze Bull said, it's called the Bloody Mountain Range. It actually belongs to the same mountain range as the Coldwind Mountain Range. But the mountain range is too long and occupied by different forces, so it was divided into the Coldwind Mountain Range and the Bloody Mountain Range. Fang Hao took out the Lord's Book and opened the map. Point it out to me. Bronze Bull pointed on the map and indicated the location of this mountain range. Actually, Fang Hao had been to this Bloody Mountain Range. It was the mountain range of the Dragon Burial Pit. It was full of jagged rocks. Indeed, a barren place. It is located north of the Pigman tribe. If the trolls attack from there, he really needs to make good arrangements. Otherwise, they would directly reach his doorstep. Okay, Bronze Bull, go back and pay attention to gathering intelligence. Blaze Fang, pay attention to patrols and be careful of the scouts sent by Skullcrusher. Fang Hao instructed. Currently, both sides are in a stage of gathering intelligence. It's not yet time for large-scale troop movements or closing the market. Yes, sir, the two replied. The group discussed the subsequent plans for a while before Fang Hao took two heroes and returned to the territory. Returning to the territory, called Ear and went to the Faceless One's hut together. The Faceless One's hut is an intelligence agency where you can spend money to buy some intelligence you want. Pushing the door open, it was empty inside. Fang Hao walked behind the counter, opened the mailbox, and took out the intelligence request forms from inside. Ear, write Skullcrusher tribe of the Coldwind Mountain Range on this, and for the content, write recent combat plan and troop numbers. Fang Hao said. Ear picked up the pen on the counter and began to fill out the form according to what Fang Hao said. Fang Hao took out the second form. On this one, write Bloodthroat tribe of the Bloody Mountain Range. And for the content, fill in hero levels, combat plan, and troop numbers. Ear finished filling out the second form again. Fang Hao threw the two forms into the mailbox and waited silently for 2 or 3 minutes. Clang. The mailbox made a sound. When opened, there was a metal tag inside. It had 500. Written on it meant that these two pieces of information cost 500 war coins. The price is really expensive. Arrange for someone to prepare 500 war coins. Stuff them all into the mailbox in one go. And close the lid again. Opening it again. There was nothing inside. This should be considered completing the operation. And the two sides have reached an agreement. Just arrange for someone to wait here and notify him as soon as there is a result. Ear, arrange for a maid to watch here. Send me any intelligence that appears in the mailbox. The two walked out of the Faceless One's hut. And Fang Hao gave the instruction. He just didn't know when the other party would send the intelligence. They shouldn't collect it monthly, right? By then, the war would be over, and he still wouldn't have received the news. Understood, Master. Ear nodded. Night fell. A bone dragon flew towards Per City using the cover of night. Bloodhound's dark deception allowed the bone dragon to blend into the darkness. Avoiding all the guards, it easily flew above Per City. Fang Hao extended his withered finger, pointing from a distance to the room on the second floor of the tavern. Bloodhound nodded slightly, leaped off the bone dragon, spread his huge bat wings, and directly swooped into the second floor. Who's there? Oh, help. Immediately after, sounds of fighting and wailing came from the room. Fang Hao sat on the back of the bone dragon, listening to the screams coming from the tavern that had already turned off its lights. If it weren't for the Bloodthroat tribe incident, Fang Hao wouldn't have been so eager to kill them. But now that a threat has appeared in the north, he couldn't allow a potential hidden danger to exist in the south. Therefore, these people chose the wrong time to provoke Fang Hao. The sounds of fighting and killing only lasted for 5 minutes before Bloodhunt, carrying an old man, leaped out of the window. His huge bat wings flapped, and he landed on the back of the bone dragon, circling in the AIR.AT. This moment, candlelight lit up on the first floor of the tavern, and the voice of the bartender asking a question could be heard. Sir, is this the old man? Yes, let's go back. Bloodhunt lightly patted the bone dragon's neck, and the bone dragon flew towards the territory, the Lord's Hall. Fang Hao sat upright on the bone throne, and below him knelt an old man in pajamas, still in a state of shock. You're the young man from the tavern this morning. The old man recognized Fang Hao at a glance. Good eyesight, Fang Hao praised, and continued, the bounty you posted has caused me quite a bit of trouble. I want to hear how you knew about the ancient tomb and why you posted the bounty. Old Ifu scanned his surroundings. Aside from a beast-eared hero, the hall was filled with skeletal undead inside and out. Sir, my name is Ifu. My great-grandfather left behind a diary and a key. I came looking for the ancient tomb based on this information. As for the bounty targeting you, it was just a misunderstanding. The mercenaries I hired discovered traces of your team and then posted this bounty. The old man's body trembled slightly, but it wasn't from fear. Rather, he was somewhat excited, somewhat agitated. Without waiting for Fang Hao to speak, he said again, Undead Lord, I am willing to offer my loyalty and everything in exchange for serving you. Old Ifu knelt on the ground, his forehead pressed against the floor. Now he understood. The one before him was certainly not some human youth, but a great undead. The human appearance he presented was merely an illusion. Otherwise, he wouldn't be sitting on a throne made of bone, commanding the many undead below. Hearing the old man's words, Fang Hao frowned slightly and looked at Nelson, who was standing nearby. What does he mean? Did I encounter a follower of the god of undead? Or does he have a bone fetish? Why is he so excited? Nelson noticed Fang Hao's questioning gaze and whispered into Fang Hao's ear, his life force is exhausted. He wants to become immortal. Fang Hao nodded slightly, indicating he understood. Immortality is the undead's own term. It actually means transforming into an undead. This old man is too old. Even if he ate ginseng dipped in sauce, he wouldn't live much longer. Therefore, he was eager to find a way to extend his life, whether by becoming a bloodkin or an undead, as long as he could survive. Let me see the notebook and the key, Fang Hao said. Old Ifu took out the old notebook from his chest and handed it to the beast-eared girl beside him, who then passed it to Fang Hao. Sir, the key was used this morning. We went to the ancient tomb and used the key on the first bronze door. We found we couldn't pull it out, so we left it there, Old Ifu explained. Fang Hao took the diary and roughly flipped through a couple of pages that it indeed recorded some information about the ancient tomb. So, you came looking for this ancient tomb to find a way to extend your life. Fang Hao closed the old diary. Yes, I wouldn't dare deceive you, sir. Old Ifu remained respectful. Do you know where the other limbs of this tomb's owner are? Huh? Other limbs? I don't know. Old Ifu shook his head. Could it be that the ancient tomb didn't contain a complete corpse, but a fragmented one? Fang Hao nodded again and said, All right, take him away. Although the old man was cooperative, he wasn't someone easy to deal with. Moreover, bringing him back didn't yield any useful information. The diary was the only gain. When there's time, he should read its contents carefully to understand the story better. No, sir, give me a chance to serve you. I don't want to die, sir. I'm willing to give you all my wealth. There are many slaves on my estate. They can all be sacrifices for you. Old Ifu shouted loudly. The reason he was so anxious to find the ancient tomb was that he felt death approaching. Now that he had come into contact with the undead, he was even less willing to die at this moment. Fang Hao looked at the hoarse old man and shook his head slightly. All right, take him to the transformation pool. After that, you will be an undead and can serve me. Old Ifu's face lit up with joy, and he stopped shouting and struggling. After standing up and bowing gracefully, he voluntarily followed the skeleton towards the transformation pool. After the old man left, Nelson and the others also returned to their respective residences. Under the glowstone lamp, Fang Hao reopened the diary and began to read it carefully. He read it from beginning to end, and besides the few missing pages in the middle, he understood the rest. That it must be said that the city lord in the story was truly a ruthless character, because he feared death and wanted to transform into a bloodkin. He was also afraid that the people in the city would discover him and harm him. So, he simply turned everyone in the city into bloodkin. This city lord had likely planned this long ago. Everything he did before was for this final step of delivering wine door dash to dash door, by the time everyone in the city was transformed. The remaining one or two who slipped through the net wouldn't matter. Impressive, Fang Hao muttered at the same time. He also noticed a sentence in the notes. Damn Chester. That damn liar. This Chester must be the city lord's name. It seemed he didn't gain nothing after all, after finishing the entire diary. Fang Hao returned to his room and fell into a deep sleep. The next day, after breakfast, a bone dragon landed directly in the pigman village, causing a stir when they saw Fang Hao and Anya on the dragon's back. A pigman immediately went to notify the pigman chieftain, Patty. Lord, I didn't know you would come in person. Patty hurried over to greet him. Previously, whenever Fang Hao had something to do, he would use divine arrival and rarely came in person. Firstly, the journey wasn't short, and secondly, there were safety concerns. Who knew what strange and bizarre things might appear in this world and take his life? Let's go inside and talk. Several people entered the chieftain's hall, and a pigman brought fruit wine. Fang Hao had given the pigman village a troll brewing barrel, allowing the pigmen to also drink fruit wine. Sir, do you have any instructions for your visit this time? Patty asked curiously. Since Fang Hao had come in person, he naturally had important matters to discuss. From the north of the village all the way to the Bloody Mountains. How many beastmen villages are there along the way, and what is their strength? Fang Hao asked. Patty was taken aback, roughly calculated in his mind, and said, the villages to the north are quite scattered, and we have had less contact with them. There are probably more than 10 villages, and I heard that there have been wars recently. That's how beastmen are. Today there might be 10 villages nearby, but tomorrow they could become 5 due to mutual raiding. Then wandering tribes would migrate over, adding a few more villages. It has always been like this. War and migration have never stopped. Pigman Village currently has the protection of the undead and is in a phase of low-key development. They haven't interacted with other villages for a long time. It was difficult to give an exact number. Find a way to gather the chieftains of all the villages. We're all neighbors. It's time we got to know each other. Really? Petty saw that Fang Hao didn't seem to be joking, but getting to know each other as neighbors didn't sound like something Fang Hao would say. Really? And we need to be quick. It's best if we can gather all these people tomorrow. Petty's expression turned serious. It seemed something important had happened. Sir, may I know the reason? Given Fang Hao's personality, his sudden interest in the area around the pigman village must mean something happened. It's nothing to tell you, but don't reveal it to others, Fang Hao said. I understand. Sir, in the Bloody Mountains north of the pigman village, there's a bloodthroat tribe. Have you heard of it? Fang Hao asked. Petty shook her head. Sir, the pigman village moved here later, so we don't know much about this area. Okay, the bloodthroat tribe is a troll tribe, and there's a high possibility they will attack us. To ensure safety, I need to reduce all possible dangers, including the scattered tribes north of the village. Fang Hao explained that Petty's expression became even more grim. She never expected the troll tribe to attack from the north of the village. In that case, the village would be affected immediately. Sir, what should we do? Petty was a little flustered for a moment, and her first thought was to move the village or hide first and come back after the battle ended. Don't worry, it hasn't reached the point of war yet. First, find a way to gather all the chiefs from the north. Okay, sir. I'll do it right away. Petty nodded in agreement. After giving instructions, Fang Hao walked out of the chief's hall. While Petty began to think about a reason to gather these chiefs, they didn't usually contact each other much. Inviting them for a meal was definitely not realistic. She needed to come up with a reason that was attractive enough to make them come. After leaving the chief's hall, Fang Hao went straight to the center of the pigmen village. He opened the Lord's book and turned to the building section. Necromancer Tower, purple tuff, wood 3350. Stone bricks 4500. Iron 1200. Traces of death 120. Shadow stone 30. The Necromancer Tower was a blueprint Fang Hao had obtained from a reward before that time. He lacked shadow stone, so he didn't build it. This time, in the vampire tomb, he obtained enough shadow stone and could build this building. After choosing the location, he built it directly. Purple light flickered, and a towering building appeared before his eyes. Necromancer Tower, purple, category, Undead building. Ability, increases the range of divine command. Description, a special building for the Undead faction, which can be built in cities and villages within the territory. It can increase the range of divine command. The Necromancer Tower was more like a modern communication signal tower. IT transmitted signals to a farther distance. Previously, Fang Hao needed to cast Divine Command in the Pigmen village to command his troops to operate on the edge of the Bloody Mountains. With the Necromancer Tower, he could cast Divine Command in his territory without having to go to the Pigmen village himself. Lord, the people contacting the other chiefs have set off, and we should get a reply in the afternoon. Petty walked over at this time and said softly, "Okay, what's the reason?" To gather all these guys together, he had to come up with a reason they couldn't refuse. The mining rights of a large mine. The Pigmen village discovered a mining area and is unable to mine it themselves, so they need to cooperate with other villages. They need to discuss who to cooperate with on the spot, Petty said calmly. That was a good idea. In this area, mining a mine had both benefits and credibility. Can the time be confirmed? Fang Hao continued to ask. Tomorrow noon, in the Pigmen village. Seeing Petty's worried look, Fang Hao said, "Okay, don't worry, I will arrange the negotiation." "Okay, sir." After dealing with the matters in the Pigmen village, Fang Hao and Njia remounted the bone dragon and returned to the territory. After lunch, Fang Hao and Njia switched to the giant lizard and headed to Pruer City. As soon as they entered the city, Fang Hao felt a tense atmosphere pervading the city. There were many more guards, and patrols were more frequent. When they passed by the tavern, they saw that it was closed, and there were guards guarding the surroundings. It seemed that what happened last night had attracted the attention of the city lord. "Master." When they arrived at the shop, Xiaobai saw Fang Hao and came out to greet him. The cleaning work was progressing quickly. Today was the renovation and repair of the outer walls. What happened across the street? Fang Hao pointed to the tavern. "I heard that someone died in the tavern across the street, and several people died. The guards came several times this morning to ask some questions," Xiaobai replied. These maids didn't know what Fang Hao had done. They only knew that someone had died across the street, and it had nothing to do with them. Didn't any witnesses see the murderer? Fang Hao looked in the direction of the tavern. "I don't know. From the look of it, they don't know the identity of the murderer. Otherwise, the guards wouldn't still be investigating everywhere now." Xiaobai continued to reply. If they knew the identity of the murderer, they would have taken action immediately, instead of going door to door to investigate and inquire, looking like they were unsure of the murderer's identity. "Oh," Fang Hao replied, feeling much more relaxed. Just then, a team of guards walked over from a distance. They stopped in front of Fang Hao and said, "Mr. Fang Hao, the city lord wants to see you." Fang Hao raised an eyebrow. The other party came to invite him as soon as he entered the city. It seemed that the city lord had been waiting for him. Did they find out that he was the one who killed the people last night? Impossible, unless this old guy could tell fortunes. "Let's go. I happen to have something to see the city lord about," Fang Hao said, under the guidance of the guards. He entered the city lord's mansion without any hindrance. In the council hall, City Lord Cyril was sitting in the main seat, waiting. "City Lord." Fang Hao smiled. He was basically sure in his heart that the other party definitely didn't know that the deaths last night were his doing. Oh, he wasn't so worried anymore. City Lord Cyril also smiled and said, "Mr. Fang Hao, please sit." Fang Hao and Njia sat in the seats next to them. "Something happened in the city's tavern last night. I wonder if Mr. Fang Hao has heard about it." Cyril asked directly. Fang Hao frowned and said, "When I entered the city just now, I heard from my subordinates. Have you caught the murderer?" "Not yet. I want to ask, how many servants did you leave in the city last night, and what is their strength?" Cyril looked directly into Fang Hao's eyes, as if to discern whether his words were true. Fang Hao didn't hesitate and said directly, 12 fourth-tier infantrymen, and the rest are first-tier orc maids. The city lord doesn't think they did it, does he? I'm a businessman. I don't like fighting and killing. Cyril stared at Fang Hao's expression, but still didn't find anything wrong. He said, "Well, it seems that the deaths of these mercenaries were due to internal vendetta. Mercenaries, even if they had legal status, did not do few bad things. Many mercenaries were a group of bandits under a legal name. The situation of such people dying from revenge was higher than the casualties from missions. Seemed that Cyril was attributing this matter that couldn't be investigated to vendetta among mercenaries. Fang Hao didn't want to continue talking about this topic with him. He spoke directly, interrupting Cyril's thoughts. "By the way, City Lord, I wonder if you have any white steel ingots here. You need white steel ingots? Cyril didn't expect that with Fang Hao's background and wealth, he would actually be short of something like white steel ingots. Yes. If there's a blueprint for forging white steel ingots, that would be even better. I can purchase it with money. The blueprint for the white steel firearm has already been acquired. The only material missing is white steel ingots. If I can obtain a blueprint for forging white steel ingots, or even finished white steel ingots, that would be acceptable. That I'll craft a batch of white steel firearms first to deal with the battle that could happen at any time. Cyril stroked his beard and fell into silence. Fang Hao's heart stirred. It seemed Cyril really did have white steel ingots here. What's wrong, Lord City Lord? Are there any difficulties? Fang Hao asked. Cyril said with a hint of difficulty. The city does have some white steel ingots in reserve, but they've already been placed in the military arsenal. Selling them to you would likely be difficult. Lord City Lord must have a way to make it work. Why don't you tell me about it? If he truly couldn't give them to Fang Hao, he would have refused outright. From his hesitant expression, there was still a way. Selling them to you is definitely not possible. How about this? I'll issue a bounty. As long as you capture the murderers and bring them back to me, I will pay you the white steel ingots as a reward. Cyril's eyes narrowed instantly, and he said sternly, What murderers? Fang Hao naturally knew Cyril's plan. It was nothing more than using the white steel ingots as leverage to get him to deal with the murderers he mentioned. His reason for summoning him today was probably also for this matter, but he had brought up the white steel ingots beforehand. The murderers who killed the mercenaries in the tavern last night. You help me bring them back, and the 1,500 units of white steel ingots stored in the warehouse will be yours. How about it? Cyril smiled, his eyes crinkling with dense wrinkles. Killed the mercenaries? Fang Hao exclaimed. Yes. Didn't you say there were no clues? No, there are clues. It's the other group of mercenaries in the manor outside the city. I will publicly execute them, then to ensure the stability of the city. Cyril replied that it seemed the mercenaries in the manor outside the city had offended this city lord before, which was why this baseless wrongful case was directly pinned on these people. If last night's events hadn't been done by Fang Hao himself, he might have actually believed Cyril's words. After all, between a city lord and a group of mercenaries, more people would believe the city lord, the mercenaries' names, the location of the manor, and their troop strength. Fang Hao decided to take on this matter. The Firewolf mercenary group. This is the location of the manor, and their troop strength is only a few dozen people. Cyril handed over the single-page map that was already prepared on the table. Fang Hao took the map and remembered the name of the Firewolf mercenary group to heart. Okay, I'll take on this matter. How many people do you want? I can't bring back all dozens of them, can I? Fang Hao casually tucked the map away. A few leaders. If possible, bring back as many people as possible. It will be better for the public to accept. Cyril continued to stroke his beard. Okay, I'll try to bring back as many as possible. Fang Hao stood up. Then I'll go prepare. I won't bother Lord City Lord any longer. Yes. Fang Hao walked out of the City Lord's mansion and returned to his shop. The shop was in the process of hanging up its sign, which had the shop's name written in human script. Scoop it up. That a simple and easy to understand, yet attractive shop name. It was also a name that Fang Hao had thought of after staying up all night, pondering for a long time, and almost calling his Chinese teacher. As Fang Hao admired the sign. The tavern owner came over. She handed the 5 gold coins in her hand to Fang Hao. Here's the money back for now. When the tavern reopens, you can come back and post a bounty. The tavern was sealed, so the bounties on the tavern's bulletin board were no longer effective. Point 1 was the mercenary bounty, all of whom died on the 2nd floor last night, and the other was Fang Hao's bounty for finding the Sword of Atonement, totaling 5 gold coins. Fang Hao collected the gold coins and asked, pretending not to know, I heard someone died. Damn it, these damn mercenaries, I'm just unlucky to the extreme, attracting these dead ghosts. The owner gritted her teeth and cursed loudly. Her sudden outburst of profanity also startled Fang Hao. It seemed the deaths this time had a significant impact on the tavern. Not only was it sealed, but for a long time to come, no one would dare to stay on the 2nd floor. How many days will the tavern be closed? I don't know. It depends on when the culprit is caught. The owner sighed. Do you want to come and help me? I happen to be short of hands. Fang Hao said. The owner's large eyes rolled, and she let out a chuckle. Little rascal, I know your little thoughts. You're still young. Aren't you afraid of hurting yourself? Anyway, your tavern is closed. Why not come and help me? My tavern is only closed for 2 days. It's not out of business. The owner corrected. All right, come help me when you go out of business. The owner was so angry that her teeth itched. Why did she have to go out of business? Fang Hao revealed a smile, leaned closer, and asked in a low voice, Have you heard of the Fire Wolf Mercenary Group? Huh? You know people from the Fire Wolf Mercenary Group? The owner asked subconsciously. I've heard some things about them. Is the Fire Wolf Mercenary Group not very popular in Pro? You know that? The owner exclaimed. Few residents in the city knew this information, and Fang Hao, who had only been here a few times, already knew about it. Those guys caused such a big incident, and the city lord actually didn't kill them. Fang Hao sighed. Yes, the city lord had a child late in life, and it's probably difficult for him to have more children in the future. The owner made a judgment like an experienced traditional Chinese medicine doctor. Fang Hao's eyes flickered. The city lord's son should be better now, right? No way. I haven't seen him come out for several years. I guess the situation isn't very good. The two watched the shop's plaque being hung up while chatting in low voices through the owner's words. Fang Hao could also guess some things. For some reason, the Fire Wolf Mercenary Group had injured the city lord's son a few years ago, and the injury was getting worse, likely meaning he wouldn't live much longer. For some reason, the city lord hadn't done anything to this mercenary group. This time, he saw an opportunity and pinned the crime of murder in the city on the Fire Wolf Mercenary Group. After chatting for a while, the guards came to search the tavern again, and the owner also left. Fang Hao and Anya got back on the giant lizard and returned to the territory. They quickly returned to the territory. Fang Hao directly dismounted and began to count the troops he would bring next. The location of the Warfire Mercenary Group's manor was already displayed on Fang Hao's large map, and their numbers were only a few dozen. There was no need to bring too many troops and attract attention. The heroes were Anya, Blood Hunter, 100 bone dragons, and a full contingent of 5th-tier skeleton trolls. Blackthorn had the city defense skill, so he was perfect for guarding the home. Flying at high altitude would not attract the attention of people on the ground, and the speed was also fast, allowing them to finish the battle before dark. Fang Hao used divine descent to board the bone dragon. He lightly patted the dragon's neck twice, and the bone dragon rushed into the clouds, flying towards the Fire Wolf Mercenary Group's manor. The bone dragon flew through the clouds, the wind whistling in my ears. The cities below were as small as matchboxes, and the busy people looked even more like scurrying ants. Soon, the bone dragon approached the Fire Wolf Mercenary Group's manor, and I could see the outline of the city and some people moving around as we gradually approached. Fang Hao realized that something was wrong with this manor. This was not a manor at all, but a city built to level 3 by a lord. The central area was the lord's mansion, with residential houses, barracks, and a level 2 city wall built. Could it be that this Fire Wolf Mercenary Group was established by a transmigrator? But immediately after, Fang Hao denied this idea, because he saw several people skinning and butchering a beast on the open space in front of the lord's mansion. That if the lord here was still alive and free, he would not use manual slaughtering methods at all. It seemed that this place had been occupied by this group of mercenaries a long time ago and used as their base. As for this lord, the outcome was easy to guess. I hope he escaped, rather than falling into the hands of these people. Prepare dragon breath. End the battle as soon as possible. The bone dragon roared, its wings retracted, and it swooped straight down from the clouds. 100 bone dragons quickly approached the city below. The wings spread out again, and as they swept over the city, beams of black energy shot down, sweeping towards the crowd below. Dozens of people, without a hero. This was a battle without suspense. The bone dragon circled above the territory. The giant skeleton ogre, huge in size, jumped off the dragon's back, started the finishing work. Okay, don't kill the rest. Tie them all up. Fang Hao said that I still need to bring a few people back to the city lord. If I kill them all here, I won't be able to prove to Cyril whether I killed the Fire Wolf Mercenary Group or not. There were still 6 members of the Fire Wolf Mercenary Group left on the field. 1. Of them was the leader of the mercenary group, a tier 6 warrior. His level was quite high. Sir, has the Firewolf mercenary group offended you in any way? Let's talk it over. Let's talk it over, the leader of the Firewolf mercenary group said. Kneeling on the ground, he had been feeling uneasy today, and sure enough, nothing good happened. Where is the original owner of this city? Fang Hao asked. After all, everyone crossed over together. If they were imprisoned, it would be good to rescue them. The mercenary leader's eyes darted around, and he immediately said, "You must be mistaken. This is our mercenary group's station. Are you looking for someone?" Seeing that the other party said this, then this lord was not in the hands of the Firewolf mercenary group. As for whether he escaped alive or was killed by them, there was no need to ask. That was all he could do. Fang Hao didn't say much, but said to several skeleton ogres, "Keep an eye on them. If anyone tries to escape, kill them." The skeleton ogres took a step forward, surrounded the 6 people, and stared down at the 4 people kneeling on the ground. With this over, Fang Hao walked directly into the lord's mansion of this city. The Firewolf mercenary group was really quite wealthy. A full box of gold coins, silk fabrics, gold and silver utensils, and many more. It was much more rewarding than the bandit camp cleared a few days ago. "Hey, this is quite similar to the sword you bought last time," and Jia suddenly exclaimed, holding a silver-white long sword in her hand. Without looking at the attributes, just looking at the material and shape, it made people think of the sword of reprieve that Fang Hao bought 2 days ago. "Let me see." Fang Hao took the long sword in his hand. Sword of reprieve, purple, type, long sword. Damage, tier 3 damage. Description, a long sword that killed its master. Legend has it that anyone who obtains this long sword will walk towards death in pain. Wow, there was really an unexpected gain. I even obtained one of the swords of reprieve here. Really? And Jia asked curiously. "It really is." "Then search carefully. These guys are rich," and Jia said, and started her treasure hunt, turning over boxes and cabinets, even lifting up the carpets to see if there was anything valuable. All kinds of valuable goods were moved to the courtyard. A silver treasure chest was also found in the room on the 2nd floor, perhaps due to the small number of people or other reasons. The treasure chests here were only silver level. Opened it directly. Obtained white steel scale armor blueprint. Heart of a hero 2. Soul crystal 5. War coins 21. White steel scale armor. Blue cast iron block 3. White steel ingot 2. White steel plate 5. Thick and tough leather 5. Description, pieces of armor are connected, covering like scales, protecting the body. Quite good. The blue quality is at least up to the tier 3 defense standard. It can also replace the plate armor that has been equipped. Continue to check the second item. Heart of a hero. Category, hero item. Description, the assessment certificate for soldiers to advance to heroes. With the heart of a hero, you can conduct a hero assessment in the Hall of Trials. The territory already has the Hall of Trials. It can provide promotion. Trials for tier 10 soldiers and heroes. And the heart of a hero is the trial certificate required for soldiers to be promoted to heroes. Of course, they are also sold in the Business Alliance store, and the price is quite expensive. After putting away the items, Fang Hao walked out. On the open space, the items had already been collected. There were furniture, furs, and some gold coins, fabrics, silk, gold and silver jewelry, and so on. Okay, bring these people along and prepare to go back. The bone dragon dropped some inconvenient furniture and furs near a village. Then, carrying the remaining high-value items, it re-entered the clouds and began its return journey. Near dusk, Pearl City Lord's mansion. City Lord Cyril looked calmly at the 6 corpses lying on the ground. Why are they all dead? From the traces of being tied up on their bodies, it could be seen that these people had already surrendered, but on the way to be delivered, Fang Hao still sent corpses, not living people. If 6 living people were publicly announced their crimes and hanged on the gallows, it would be more convincing than 6 corpses. I originally planned to bring them in alive, but as soon as we got close to the city, they shouted that the city lord was slandering them and that your son's injury had nothing to do with them. I was afraid of affecting your reputation, so I had no choice but to bring back the corpses, Fang Hao said, expressing that he was also very helpless. These 6 people had seen his undead army. In order to avoid trouble, He naturally would not let them fall alive into Cyril's hands. The reason was naturally what he had thought of long ago by combining the landlady's story. Well, someone come, prepare a carriage for them, and transport the white steel ingots from the armory to them, Cyril shouted. Immediately, a guard responded, Sir, madam, please follow me. Goodbye, City Lord. Fang Hao smiled and followed the guard out. In front of the armory, the giant lizard lay on the ground, under Fang Hao's watchful eyes. Pieces of white steel ingots were loaded onto the cargo saddle. Fortunately, the giant lizard was huge. Otherwise, with so many white steel ingots, it would probably require 2 carriages to transport them back to his territory. That white steel ingot 1510 units. The 1500 that Cyril mentioned seemed to be an approximate number. The total amount on the carriage was 1,510 pieces. Mr. Fang Hao, here is your bounty. Please count it. The guard walked over. The quantity was already displayed, so there was no need to count it specifically. No need. I can take these now, right? Fang Hao asked. Of course, these are yours, the guard replied. Fang Hao nodded and led the giant lizard out, passing through the central area of the city. The giant lizard had to slow down. It moved forward little by little with the flow of people. On the gallows by the roadside. The people from the Fire Wolf mercenary group had been hung high. On the platform, an official was loudly reading out the crimes of the mercenary group and the murders that had occurred in the city yesterday, when the residents heard that the people who died yesterday were due to a feud between mercenaries. They were instantly in an uproar, discussing among themselves. The official was still loudly proclaiming the crimes of the deceased and the nobility of the city lord. Will the residents believe it? And Jiao whispered, I don't know. Most of them should believe it, just as Cyril said. Residents will trust the city lord more than those mercenaries. Fang Hao replied. He also didn't know if the residents would believe it. Certainly. Many people would guess that this was City Lord Cyril's revenge against the Fire Wolf. But that wasn't important. No one would seek justice for the dead. They were dead, and that was that, especially since these people had done enough bad things. After passing by the shops and confirming that there were no special matters, the giant lizard left Pearl City and rushed towards the direction of the territory. By the time the giant lizard returned to the territory, the sun had already set. He had the skeletons unload the white steel ingots into the warehouse, while Fang Hao took the atonement longsword and went to Little Yu's residence. Good evening, Lord, Little Yu greeted. Yes, I wiped out a group of murderers today and found an atonement longsword. I'll bring it to you. Fang Hao handed the atonement longsword to Little Yu. The moment Little Yu touched the longsword, her body emitted a dazzling light again. Immediately after, Fang Hao received a system prompt. Subordinate unit, Phantom, has successfully advanced to a hero unit, unfinished business mission. No hero assessment required. Calamity Song, Hilda, Green Tier 2 Hero. Faction, Undead Template. Green Racial Traits, Undead. Ethereal, Light Weakness. Skills, Spirit Possession. Dark Void, Unfinished Business, Shadow Stealth. Innate Abilities, Intermediate Combat Mastery. Intermediate All-Weapon Mastery. Shadow Stealth. The body merges into the shadows, including but not limited to object shadows. Living being shadows. Note, they are bound here, neither eating nor sleeping, constantly reliving the pain of near death. Seeing Little Yu's attributes, Fang Hao's brows furrowed again. Little Yu actually had a name, which was indeed the name of that countess in the story. After becoming a hero, she reached Green Tier 2 Hero, unlocked the Shadow Stealth skill, and unlocked All Weapon Mastery as an innate skill. The Shadow Stealth skill felt like the assassin in the games he used to play. In a state of invisibility, deliver a blow to the enemy. Little Yu's skill was similar. She could hide in the shadows, which was very useful for gathering intelligence and assassinating. Imagine someone suddenly appearing from your shadow and stabbing you in the lower back. This was an unpredictable method. Who could guard against their own shadow? All Weapon Mastery. This was indeed rare. Intermediate level. Knows a bit of everything, but not particularly powerful at anything. The only downside was the nickname. Or rather, the prefix, Calamity Song. It felt a bit inauspicious. Not as pleasant as gold. Lord, I have become a hero, Little Yu said in a calm tone. Becoming a hero seemed to be just an ordinary matter, without any emotional changes. Fang Hao looked at her and also noticed a change. Little Yu's body was now almost solid, no longer a transparent, ethereal figure floating in the sky, but more like a person, and the layer of clothes she had conjured had disappeared, leaving her standing naked in front of Fang Hao. Little Yu, do you want to put something on? Although this is your freedom, Fang Hao said. Little Yu followed Fang Hao's gaze to her body and only then realized that she had undergone some changes after evolving into a hero. She quickly returned to the room, put on a linen gown, and came out again. If she could wear clothes, then it also meant that Little Yu could wear equipment, right? Lord, I was rude just now. Little Yu apologized. Yes, it seems you already have your own name. Do you prefer us to call you Little Yu or Hilda? I respect your opinion. Little Yu. Okay, Little Yu, since you can wear equipment, will there be any problems when you use shadow stealth? Fang Hao suddenly thought of this. When you use shadow stealth, you merge into the shadow, and with a clatter, a pile of equipment falls to the ground. Wouldn't that be discovered by the enemy? Besides, going out to assassinate naked wasn't very serious, the deceased remaining in an excited, engorged state at the time of death also affected their reputation. I'll try, Little Yu said, and her body disappeared into the darkness like ink. The next second, Little Yu appeared behind Fang Hao, gently touching his shoulder. Lord. Fang Hao turned around and saw that Little Yu was still wearing that long linen gown. This proved that equipment would also be affected by Little Yu's skills and the situation he imagined, where the person disappeared and the equipment remained, would not occur. Okay, tomorrow I'll have Sawyer prepare 2 sets of daily clothes for you. Thank you, Lord. I like the black and white dresses that Ear and the others wear. Can I have a set? Yes, just ask Sawyer for it. Fang Hao was a little curious. It seemed that the girls in the territory all preferred maid outfits. He told her to think about what she needed so he could prepare it for her. Before, Little Yu was a pure spirit body. So many furniture and carpets, although present, were useless. She didn't even need to open the door. She could just float out. Now, she was in a state close to a physical body. After chatting with Little Yu for a while, Ear's dinner was also ready. After dinner, Fang Hao went directly to the Merchant Guild building. Gold was still arranging work, and skeleton merchants were going in and out of the shop. Lord, a group of skeleton merchants bowed. Okay, you guys are busy, don't mind me. Fang Hao sat at the counter and asked Gold, is the order for white steel muskets still there? It's still there, Lord. Take it out and sign it. The materials are complete. By the way, see if there's a blueprint for musket bullets, Fang Hao said. Please wait. Lord, I'll take a look. Gold took out the order and then opened the counter behind him to check the blueprints inside. Fang Hao took the order and reconfirmed it. Order. Demand, 2,000 white steel muskets. Transaction gain, 200,000 war coin. Dwarf influence, plus 10. After confirming the order information, Fang Hao directly signed his name. The order officially took effect. Lord, there is a blueprint for musket bullets. Musket bullet 50, green 1 cast iron blocked. This time, the blueprint was for 50 musket bullets. Consuming 1 cast iron block, the IT was quite reasonable. Not a 1:1 consumption. After buying and recording the blueprint, Fang Hao also took the order to the warehouse. White steel musket, 1 white steel plate, 2 white steel ingots, 3 metal parts. Description, common weapon for musket teams. Simple production process, can be mass-produced and equipped.